All right, so Ripple just made a move that is a 10-year move, and everybody was staring at XRP's price chart, and they are missing out on everything that is taking place with the acquiring and what Ripple is doing. And I want to talk about that because you need to hear this. I'm Camila Stevenson, and around here we talk wealth. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe if you have not already. And as always, this is not financial advice. Everything here is for educational purposes only. So do your own research. Let me go ahead and share what happened. I believe it was June 16th. I think it's June 16th. Ripple took an equity stake and ownership position in a company called Flutterwave. Now, they did not disclose how big that stake was, but I do know Flutterwave is not small. It's one of the largest payment companies on the entire continent of Africa, valued somewhere around $3.2 to $3.3 billion. It also operates in more than 30 African markets. And since it launched, it has moved more than $50 billion across more than 1 billion transactions. Now, let me tell you something. That is not a startup with a dream. That is a network already woven into how money moves across a continent. And here's what Ripple is plugging into it. It is actually three different things. RLUSD, which is one, which is Ripple's regulated dollar stablecoin. That is a digital dollar designed to always be worth about $1. And in this deal, it is the core settlement asset and the actual money doing the settling. Now, the second thing is the XRP Ledger, which is the technical rail underneath, and that is the track that the value runs on. And then the third thing that's being used is Ripple Payments, which is the service that ties it all together. Nigeria is the first market. What it tells you is something important. The infrastructure is being laid. Retail is watching the price all the time, while institutions watch the infrastructure. And this is institutions laying infrastructure across a continent. I'm going to bring you infrastructure. I don't need to bring you price. The price is the last thing that catches up with the value of this asset. So here's a picture that I want you to understand so that all of this is clear to you and you know exactly where we are headed with this. Think of back in the late 1990s. In a lot of the world, to get a telephone, you first had to string copper wire to every single house, poles, cables, decades of digging, slow and expensive. That was the process. And across much of Africa, that copper landline system was never fully built out, right? So when mobile phones arrived, something remarkable happened. Huge parts of the continent did not slowly upgrade from landlines to cell phones. They skipped the landline entirely and went straight to mobile. So in other words, they leapfrogged. They jumped clean over the old technology because there was no old technology sitting in the way. The exact same thing can happen with money. Let me define one term so that this lands for you. Corresponding banking. When you send money across borders the old way, it does not travel in a straight line. It hops through a chain of middlemen banks, each one, of course, holding accounts with the next, each one taking a fee and adding a delay, passing your money down the line like a bucket. Okay, so I'm going to keep saying this. That chain is very slow. It's very expensive. And it has been the way cross-border money has moved for generations. I have to help people to see this because I want you to understand that there's a solution for this huge problem that exists. So here's the leapfrog. In the established Western markets, you have an entire entrenched correspondent banking system with powerful institutions whose whole business is being one of those slow links in the chain. A lot of people there have every reason to protect the old slow rails, but across much of Africa, that entrenched system was never fully built out in the first place, right? So there's far less old infrastructure standing in the way and far fewer powerful middlemen whose job is to defend the bucket line. That is exactly why new rails can get adopted faster there. The same reason the continent skipped the landline is the same reason it can skip the correspondent banking chain and go straight to instant digital settlement. There is nothing old to protect. So when I see Ripple take an ownership position in a company that already moves $50 billion across 30 plus markets and start settling on regulated stablecoin rails with the XRP Ledger underneath, I do not see a press release. I see the copper versus mobile moment applied to money. That is the boring stage, and it always is. The laying of track that nobody makes a movie about. The part that happens years before anybody notices the destination. And the boring stage is usually where the real building happens. Now, let me bring it back to you and how you can actually position yourself, because here is the contrast that I want you to see. While everyone else is watching the price react to the headline, the people who actually win a story like this are the ones positioned for the decade, not the week, the decade. You have to think in terms of decades. And just as important, those same people, they hold it somewhere it can compound without getting chipped away. A thesis that takes 10 years to play out can get bled out by taxes and friction if you hold it in the wrong place. That is exactly why I do keep a portion of my XRP inside of a Roth IRA through iTrust Capital. So a 10-year story actually gets all 10 years to grow for me instead of getting chipped away by taxes along the way. I do not want that to happen, and I hope that you don't allow that to happen. So the link for that is in the description. They do give you a $100 funding bonus when you fund the account. And also, you can invest in precious metals, silver and gold backed by real physical silver and gold. Again, the link is in the description. And if you are more worried about what you want to do for your actual plan and you just don't have a clue, you don't know where to start, where to begin, how to protect, how to save taxes, what you should be invested in, how to reallocate and rebalance your portfolio, then that is something that our clarity calls are for. The link for that is also in the description. This is the part I really need you to understand. There are new continents getting wired with new rails while people are still looking at the charts. The world skipped the landline once and never looked back. Watch how fast it skips the old way money moves, because the people building the new rails, they're not waiting on anybody's permission right now. Okay. So you have to see what's really important. Okay. You're not going to be shown what's important on the narrative side of things. You have to investigate yourself. Now, there's something I want you to let me know in the comments. You know, when I think about the telephones, right? Remember back in the day when they started switching over into new ways of communication and they had the car phone. Remember that big old car phone? It was clunky and chunky, but people thought they were really doing it, having that big old clunky and chunky car phone in their car.
When these things were first starting to pop up in the mid-1980s, the customers were people that had a business.
Did you or your parents or anybody in your family ever have one? I know I had an aunt that had one. And, you know, it was almost like you felt like that person was rich if they had a car phone. I'm just wondering if anybody in your family had one of those car phones. Let me know in the comments. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this video with someone who needs to understand what is happening in this economy so that they can benefit and their family can benefit. And as always, I want you to stay wise, stay wealthy, and I'll see you in the next video.